Good evening, Chicago. Welcome on in to the latest episode of Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnik here with you. A jam-packed hour or so tonight of sports. Summer fun is the theme. The second half of the baseball season, the Major League season, is underway. Somebody forgot to tell the Sox and the Cubs that based on how they did over the weekend. We will rehash that. Bears training camp is underway. They have officially now had 3 practices. Everybody's in. Everybody's signed. All those things. Caleb Williams tried to have some fun with his first contract. You can't blame the guy for trying. We'll break that down a little bit. And then, speaking of summer fun, my family and I had some fun over the weekend. We went to a minor league baseball game, and I just want to regale some of that with you. Tell you what, it is a different thing going to a sporting event with your kids. We will talk about that as well tonight. Plus, we'll get ready for the Olympics a little bit. We'll see who we should be keeping an eye on, who we want to talk about, all those good, wonderful things. All that plus more coming up right here, right now on Chi-Town Weekly. Do not go anywhere. Let's have some fun. And good evening and welcome on in once again, everyone. I am your host, Adam Karnik. So glad to be with you. So glad that you are here for another episode of Chi-Town Weekly. Lots to get through here tonight. Going to be talking about baseball, both sides of town, as the official second half of the Major League season is underway. We are going to be breaking down Bears camp, and then we'll be having some fun with some other summer fun family sports type things that we're going through here tonight. So lots to get through on the docket here tonight. But before we go anywhere, of course, we do want to acknowledge our sponsors, Planet Jerky, premium brisket beef jerky, and Seal the Deal wax seals. So we will hear a quick word from both of them, and then we will get this thing underway. Do not go anywhere. IE Sports Radio fans, this show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, Single A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back on into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Be sure to check out both of our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky at planetjerky.net and Seal the Deal Wax Seals at iesportsradio.com/seal the deal wax seals. And be sure to follow along with everything IE Sports Radio is doing. You can follow the station on X, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok just by searching at IE Sports Radio. For those of you watching here live on Monday night over Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, welcome on in. Thank you for being here. Appreciate that. You can comment and chime along with the show. Taryn Rodriguez is here. Good evening, Taryn. We're going to try to have ourselves a good one. Ralph Calise is also here. We're going to try our best to have a great show. Yes, absolutely. Let's go. Let's do this thing. If you are listening later on in the week as a podcast, though, all of the shows on the network are available basically on every major podcasting platform: Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, Castbox, Deezer, Podcast Addict, Podchaser, Gio7. They're all available for you there as well. Thank you for making this part of your week. I do appreciate that. Thank you for being here. You can also follow along with this show. You can find out more information about the show by visiting the station's website, iesportsradio.com/Chi-Town Weekly. Learn a little bit about the show, a little bit about myself. You can also follow along. This show is available on Twitter at IESRC, or you can follow along with me personally. I am at Adam_Karnick, and also Rick Keeler jumping in. Good evening, Rick. How are you, sir? So I wanted to start the show off tonight with some baseball talk. The second half is officially underway, even though everybody's played more than 81 games, significantly more than 81 games to this point. But I thought baseball could be kind of a nice way to kick off the show before we dive into the football conversation that I know a lot of people are wanting and eager to have as we get ready for that. I think both sides of town forgot to be informed that the All-Star break was over based on the offensive numbers. The White Sox went down to Kansas City and played the Royals. They scored 3 runs in 3 games. They're nothing if not consistent. Lost 7-1, 6-1, and 4-1 to kick off the second half of the season. Their 14th time being swept this season for the White Sox. Until the trade deadline hits, I don't want to talk about. There's nothing of significance to talk about with the White Sox. So moving on, until Fetty gets traded, until Crochet gets moved, because it does feel like that is an inevitability rather than they might hold on to it. It just feels like that's a fait accompli at this point, that Garrett Crochet will indeed be out of town. Larry B chiming into the chat, 3 runs. 3 runs in 3 games. The model of consistency. I will give them that. 1 run there in each of those. They're getting the Sox getting ready. They're taking on the Rangers. They down in Texas. They have scored a run. So there you go. We're in the top of the first inning. The White Sox have scored their run. It came. Tommy Pham hit a home run to dead center. Not a cheap one either. 441 feet. My goodness. So there's the one. The White Sox have scored their one. They are now free to take the rest of the night off. Congratulations, White Sox. Well done. Moving on. We will discuss them more when things actually start happening, when trades occur. Cubs, meanwhile, they are getting ready. They are taking on the Brewers tonight. The top of the first has already come and gone. 1-2-1. Excuse me, not a 1-2-3 inning. The Brewers did get a base hit. William Contreras with a base hit. That was a faux pas there on my part. Just old habit. Just see Contreras and say Wilson. William Contreras with a base hit. Other than that, not a whole lot going on for the Brewers. There. Javier Assad on the bump tonight for the Cubs. We'll see how that goes. Larry's having some fun in the chat room now. Yeah. Teams that wear black and white, black and silver. Yeah. Raiders, White Sox, Spurs. Yeah. It doesn't always go well. Yeah. And then, yeah, Ralph Calise. Yeah. The message. Yeah. Where they 14 strikeouts for the Cubs. Yeah. The Cubs did have some good things going on for them, some individual things going on, but on the whole for them, the second half did not get off to a great start. They had that terrific week right before the All-Star break, heading out to Baltimore, sweeping the Orioles, heading to St. Louis. They split 4 with the Cardinals, but it ended well in the series finale there. They took the series finale 8-3 against the Cardinals, and you thought maybe some things could be happening there. Not really. The Cubs wound up dropping 2 out of 3 to the Diamondbacks, and it frankly shouldn't have even been that good. The Cubs had a stretch where they had 18 consecutive scoreless innings from the 9th inning of the game Friday afternoon through to the 9th inning of the game yesterday afternoon. The Cubs scored a grand total of 0 runs in that span from the 9th inning Friday through the 8th inning yesterday. They scored a grand total of 0 runs in that span. That's the problem for the Cubs. That is the gigantic problem for the Cubs right now, is the starting rotation is doing well. Despite everything, the starting rotation is doing well, is having good results. Shota Imanaga is pitching well. Justin Steele is reasserted himself as the ace of this staff, even though Shota is still having a tremendous rookie season. You're having decent performances from Javier Assad, from Wisniewski. Even the professor, Kyle Hendricks, has reasserted himself a little bit and being somebody that you can rely on and can trust to not just put out there every 5th day and it's going to be a loss. He's put himself back into the Ralph. There must be something in the wind out there. Ha ha. Very, very good, Ralph. Very good. Yes, sir. Very, very good, sir. Gold star for you for the day, Ralph Calise. Very good. Yes. For the baseball teams, it's just, for the Cubs, it's the problem that we've known, that they don't have power. They're a slappy, scrappy offense that can hit singles, but has no power. You don't have any consistent power from this bunch, from this group. And that brings up, Rick leads me perfectly here with this comment. Jed Hoyer this afternoon, he didn't say that the Cubs are going to sell, but he addressed that any move that the Cubs make, they're going to be looking with an eye towards the future. They're not going to be making any moves that are purely and solely to help in 2024. It's going to be instead with an eye towards 2025 and beyond. I don't know necessarily, Ricky, that the Cubs are necessarily going to be sellers. Frankly, because there's not a whole lot that they'd have to sell. I know there was a little bit of I don't really want to call it a rumor, because it was an article written from the point of view that we don't think this is going to happen, but was playing in the what if realm of trading Justin Steele. I don't think they're going to do that. I really don't. There's been no talk of them moving any major pieces. If you were to make a major offer for a Justin Steele, let's say if the Orioles, for example, because I know they're interested in getting starting pitching, Mike Pat, host of Let's Whine About DMV Sports, is always interested in making a deal for the Orioles for starting pitching. If you were to say, here's Jackson Holliday, if you give us Justin Steele, that might get their attention. That might, all right, you might be onto something there. But the Cubs farm system is actually in fairly good shape. They haven't had to call up a bunch of their guys yet. Obviously, Pete Crow Armstrong is up, but they've got several other guys. One of the guys I'm actually going to talk about later on in the show, got to see their number 19 prospect overall pitch over the weekend for a few innings. Looked sharp, by the way. We'll talk about that a little bit later on in the show. I genuinely don't know what they'd have to sell. I think really how I'd look at that comment a little bit more from Hoyer would be, if the Cubs are going to make the move, it's going to be to acquire somebody who's not a rental. It would be bringing on, because last year we saw them make a couple of moves for a couple of guys that were then pending free agents. Candelario, a perfect example there, who we wound up playing a very nice corner infield for some third and some first for the last couple months of the regular season, but he was a pending free agent. They chose not to re-sign him, and he's now with Cincinnati and doing some good things for the Reds. I don't think how I would interpret what Hoyer said is they're not going to get any rentals. I wouldn't be surprised if they wound up buying somebody that is under contract through 2025, through 2026, spending a little bit more to get somebody that you're going to have. Because I've said it before, I've mentioned it before on the show that I really think the Cubs have some fundamental flaws with the way their roster is currently constructed. And Jed Hoyer is going to have a very hard, very difficult discussion with the scouts, with the general manager, and with ownership. And it's going to have to be, look, we are going to have to sell off some guys that we really like, that we're really happy with, that we really enjoy as players, that are good in the locker room, that are good for the team. But you've got to give up something to get something. And this Cubs roster, as it is currently constructed, is flawed. There's too much reliance upon, well, when it's summertime at Wrigley, it's easier to hit a home run, so we don't need a lot of power. You still need guys that know how to to put it in the gap for a double, to put one over the wall on occasion, and to step up in those moments where it's, hey, this is a big at bat. We need to get something out of this. It can't just be, well, we hit singles, and then as soon as there's somebody in scoring position, we don't have anywhere to go. And Ricky, long-term buy is essentially become the new sell code word. Yeah, Jameson Taillon, he has pitched very well for the Cubs. He has, after a rough start to his tenure a year ago, he's got 1 year remaining. So that is somebody that you could sell to. Here's the thing though, Ricky, with that, I genuinely don't believe that Hoyer is looking at acquiring prospects necessarily. I genuinely believe, he even commented this afternoon, he's happy with where the farm system is. I think he would be looking at acquiring somebody that's already major league ready. So I don't know if dealing a Jameson Taillon gets you that. Like, for example, I don't think, I'm just going to put a name out here. I think the Cubs would love to get Vladimir Guerrero. I don't think Jameson Taillon gets you anywhere close to getting you a Vlad Guerrero from Toronto, because Toronto, why would we want Jameson Taillon? We're not in a position to win this year and next year. Why do we want a Jameson Taillon? All we'd be doing is trying to flip him. No, we're not going to give you, we're not going to give you Vlad Guerrero Jr. for somebody that we're going to try and turn around and flip. That doesn't make sense for us. So that's why I think I wouldn't be surprised if the Cubs, if they make a move, I think it's going to look like a buy, in that it's going to look like a traditional buy, in that they're going to be moving a minor league prospect for a player that is already on a major league roster. It's just not necessarily going to be done with an eye towards worrying about the 2024 Cubs as much as it'll be worrying about 2025 and beyond. Yeah. And Larry, yay for next season. White Sox and Cubs. Let's go. Yay. Yeah. As both sides of town in baseball are basically getting ready to turn things over. One team that is definitely looking at competing this season, though, are the Bears. And they're in training camp right now. Let's take a quick break, and then when we come back, let's dive into some of the training camp talk, shall we? We will break down some of the practices that have already been going on. We will see what's upcoming, what's going on, all those fun things for the Bears coming right up. This is Chi-Town Weekly, part of IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll be right back after this.
What's good, fight fans? It's your boy, Marcus Los Great, here to give you what you want, here to give you what you need. Yeah, man. Yeah. I'm coming to you live, straight from your mama's basement with a crispy white tea. They're coming to you live every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Powered by IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What's up, New York? This is Ricky K coming at you at the NY State of Sports, a new show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Listen to me every Thursday afternoon as we bring you the latest takes on the Yankees, Mets, Jets, Giants, Knicks, Nets, Rangers, Devils, and Islanders. Plus, you get some college hoops and what's the local sports events going on in the area. It's a state that never sleeps, so why not get the opinions and sports takes that never sleep? Again, every Thursday, 2 p.m. to the NY State of Sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We may be known as the second city, but we are definitely the better city than New York. There, I just had to say it, get it off my chest. Love you, Ricky. He is the host of New York City Sports. He does an awesome job with that show, by the way, but just had to get in my little 2 cents there. Chicago's better, especially with our pizza. Anyway, Bears training camp officially opened last week. We talked a lot about that last week. I was nervous. I was concerned because this time a week ago, both Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams were unsigned and waiting their rookie deals. I knew better. I knew that I knew better, but I couldn't help myself. I had to worry, and I did. And it wound up that, it wound up being all good. Rome signed on Tuesday, no sweat. Caleb Williams, it was a little more interesting. The word had come out that he had signed, but we never got official word from the team that he had signed. Simply that, there were lots of reports that he had. It was on Wednesday then when he officially signed his rookie deal, but he is in, he is good. It was no big deal. He was trying to get some interesting things worked into his deal, and I cannot fault him for trying. Hey, if you don't ask, the answer is absolutely no. Keep in mind that he does not have an agent, an NFLPA official agent. So he's working with some finance guys and some lawyers that he knows. Get some of the things he was trying to get into his rookie deal. First, he asked the Bears if they would put a clause into his contract that they would promise not to use the franchise tag on him should they go all the way through 5 years. Bears said no. Nope, we're not doing that. No way, no how. We're not doing that for a rookie. We're not opening that door. Okay. Then he asked if, instead of paying him directly, if they could instead pay an LLC that he was going to set up in his name, a limited liability company, basically so that he could avoid getting taxed on his earnings. The Bears looked into that. We don't know. There's nothing in the collective bargaining agreement that says we can't. Let's ask the league. They went to the league, and the league said, no, you have to pay a player directly. You cannot pay a shell company for him. That is tax evasion. We will get in massive trouble for this. You cannot do it. Okay. And then the last thing that they tried was, he asked if instead of it being considered payments, if his salary could be written up as a forgivable loan. That way, because again, you're avoiding taxes. And they said, no, it's got to be payments. It can't be the form of a loan that the franchise will then forgive 10 years down the road. So can't blame him for trying. Certainly creative. And nothing, and from the way Ryan Poles responded to all the questions about it as well, and his attitude towards it, he was not upset by any of it. It didn't bother him. It didn't fluster him. It didn't, what the hell is this kid talking about? Why are we doing this? It was what it was. And okay, we tried, we shot her. You shot your shot. Okay. We'll just move on. So he is in town. He is good. So now we could talk about actual football things from the camp. And a little bit of injury news to get started. Newly acquired tight end Gerald Everett. He was one of the free agent acquisitions. He'll be the second tight end on the team. He'll be more of the H tight end, going out more to run routes rather than be inline blocking or anything like that. That's still Cole Kmet's job. Everett did start training camp on the non-football injury list. He has since come off that. So I believe he practiced today as a point of fact. So you didn't like seeing him on the injury list to get started, but he's off it already, up and running and raring to go there with that. So far, the defense seems to have the upper hand in practices to this point. That doesn't surprise me. It does not surprise me in the slightest. Defense always gets off to a faster start than the offense will. Defense is simpler to install. I don't want to say that it is simple to install, but it is simpler to install. And also in this particular instance, you have so many returning pieces defensively. You've got Jalen Johnson back. Kyler Gordon is returning. Jaquan Brisker is returning. You've got all your primary linebackers are back. Montez Sweat is returning. Gervon Dexter, even though he's been put into a more primary role being the starter now at the 3 technique, he was in this defense a year ago. So he has a more of a comfort zone going into it. So you've got that going on for you as well, as opposed to the offense, which offense is always in general, even when it's an established veteran with some established receivers, the offense always is a little slower to pick things up and get started because there's more subtlety, there's more nuance in the way there's just more going on in those plays and in those play calls, and you've got to shake off rust, and it almost always takes offense a little longer to do that. Now, take into account that you have a rookie quarterback, you have a new center, that the Bears have been rotating 3 different guys at center, just kind of letting everybody get a taste of playing center on the first team. Today it was Ryan Bates's turn to take the wheel. Doug Kramer spent some time at first team center over the weekend. So you've got all that going on. Plus, Keenan Allen is new. Rome Odunze is new. Gerald Everett's new. DeAndre Swift is new. All these new weapons, all these new pieces. And, oh, by the way, a new offensive coordinator in Shane Waldron. So there's so much new. It doesn't surprise me in the slightest that the defense is ahead of the offense. Frankly, I would be worried if that wasn't the case, because that would tell me that would be more of a detriment on the defensive side than it would be a positive on the offensive side to me. That would tell me that there's something wrong with the defense if the offense was ahead right now. The defense should be ahead. You've got all those returners that a lot of these guys are in their third year in this system. And they're just good. They're just so many solid stars on the defensive side of the ball. Meanwhile, offensively, you have so many new pieces. Yes, DJ Moore is a returner. Yes, the bulk of the offensive line is returning. Braxton Jones missed the first couple of practices. I think he was back today. I'd have to double check my notes, but I believe Braxton Jones was back today for the Bears. But, even though, yes, the offensive line is still there and still new, you've got so much new on that offense right now that I'm just not surprised that the defense is in front, especially today. Montez Sweat had sacks on, I believe it was 3 consecutive plays. He had a sack. He had what would have been a sack. Because, of course, they haven't worn pads yet. And obviously, nobody's touching the quarterback under any circumstances. You are not touching the quarterback there in practice for that. So you're not actually bringing them down. But it was 3 straight plays where you're sacking the quarterback. I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. The Bears will have their preseason opener. It's next week, Thursday. There will be some Hard Knock stuff before that. But the first preseason game is next Thursday night, of course, against the Texans, the Hall of Fame game. Don't read too much into it. It is pomp and circumstance far more than actual results. One thing you should get excited for, though, it actually kicked off today, and it will be running all this week and all next week here on IE Sports Radio. The 3 and Out, 8 divisions in 8 days is back underway. Today was AFC West Day. This week is all the AFC. So all the AFC West teams went today. Larry B does an amazing job working with obviously a lot of the personalities here at this station, but even finding other personalities outside of IE Sports Radio, which he uses that as a recruiting tool half the time. But, talking with diehard fans of every single NFL team, and it's there for you. All this week is AFC. All next week is NFC. The NFC North day will actually be the day of the Bears preseason opener. Next Thursday is when that episode will air. I'm going to be sitting down with Larry some point this evening to record all that. So we'll have some fun. So be sure to check that out. If there's any of the teams besides the Bears that you're curious about, we can absolutely get you taken care of. And of course, that NFC North day next Thursday is going to be huge as we break down the Bears, but then also the Lions, the Packers, and the Vikings as well. All right, we are going to take one more quick break. And then with it being summer, we had some fun with the family over the weekend. We took the family to a minor league baseball game over the weekend. And I tell you what, it is different taking your kids to a baseball game. I want to both with the on-field product and everything else in between. So we'll have some fun there with that next. This is Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We will be right back after this.
What's up, sports fans? You're listening to IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. I'm your favorite West Coast Wisconsinite, Bernie Bango, and if you're a cheesehead, come listen to my show, Big Cheese Sports, where we road trip around America's Dairyland, previewing, reviewing, predicting, debating, and digging into all that is Wisconsin sports at the college and pro levels. Join me on IE Sports Radio, Sundays at 1 p.m. Central Standard. Bernie out.
Cleveland and Columbus sports fans. This is Jen B, host of the Show of the Land on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in live to the Show of the Land on Tuesdays, where we will cover the Cleveland Browns, Cavs, Guardians, and Monsters. We will also talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, Crew, Fury, and of course, the Ohio State Buckeyes. We'll also cover other colleges in the area like Akron, Kent State, Cleveland State, Mount Union, John Carroll, Baldwin Wallace, Youngstown State, among others. So like I said, if you love Cleveland and Columbus sports like I do, be sure to tune in Tuesdays to the Show of the Land with Jen B on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back into Chi-Town Weekly here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Adam Karnick here with you for the next 10 minutes or so here tonight. So I teased earlier, when we were talking about the Chicago Cubs, talking about that over the weekend, I got to see one of the Cubs' young upcoming prospects from their minor league system, from their minor league farm system over the weekend. My wife and I, we took our kids to a minor league game. It's summertime. The weather's been gorgeous this past week after we had some hot, and then those tornadoes that came through. My goodness, I hope everybody is still safe and okay from all that. That was not fun. That was but we got, so hope everybody's doing okay from that. We were fine. Fortunately, we were okay. The rain got kind of bad. It got kind of loud and noisy with the lightning and the thunder coming out. We did have some tornadoes touch down relatively near us, but we were fortunately not in any kind of danger. But it's summertime. You want to have some fun. You want to get to do some things with the family. So we went to the South Bend Cubs over in South Bend, Indiana. For if you are a Cubs fan and you're frustrated with the current big league club, but you want to take a look at, what you want to get an up close and personal look at what's coming down the pipeline. South Bend is crazy close. It is an hour and a half from the city, depending on where you are. For us, it's an hour drive to get to the stadium. It's very easy. It is significantly more affordable than going to Wrigley. We were sitting behind home plate, third row, $15 a ticket. That would have been a little bit more than $15 a ticket at Wrigley Field to be that close. And it's especially if you've got kids, it's a fun atmosphere. And they're a team too. I mean, they've had some of the big name guys have come through before. Ian Happ had played for the South Bend Cubs for a while. Christopher Morel came up with the South Bend Cubs. The South Bend Cubs won a Midwest League championship. That was before the Midwest League the whole league got promoted. At that point, they were a low A affiliate. The South Bend Cubs are the high A affiliate now. The whole Midwest League got moved up a tier. And so they are now the A+ affiliate. So between double A and low A there. So they got moved up a league. So they've had, and it's not uncommon too that if guys go on rehab assignments, it's not uncommon that they'll go to South Bend because it's so close. They've Jason Hayward did a rehab stint. Yu Darvish did a couple of rehab stints there at South Bend. Anyway, it's been a common place for Cubs players to use ever since they've been a minor league affiliate with the Cubs, which they have been now for close to 15 years. I think it's been right around the time my wife and I got married, which that was 10 years ago, about as long as IE Sports Radio has been around. And yes, Larry, we did have a good time. We had a fun time. It was for my daughter. That was her third or fourth game that we've taken to. For my son, it was his second game, but I promise you there's no way he remembers his first one, because he was not even 2 months old when we took him last year. So not that he'll necessarily remember this one. He was fascinated by the vans and any vehicles. We passed by the visiting team bus, and he just lost his mind. Anything with a vehicle for him right now. But it is very different taking your kids to a sporting event. So I knew that I wasn't going to be able to just sit there and watch the baseball game. I knew that, but at the same time, my daughter's a little older now, and she has very much gotten into baseball. So it's okay. I'm going to try, and we're going to try and do some teaching things while we're doing this tonight. The big thing that was first off was that we don't cheer every time the baseball is hit, because when the other team hits the ball, we hope that it gets caught. First batter of the game, Quad City hits a deep one to left field, and everybody's, hoping that it gets caught, hoping that it get under it. Meanwhile, my daughter is yelling at the batter, run, go, go, go. Wait a minute. Hold on. We're not rooting for them. Our guys are wearing the red, white, and blue. Oh, yeah, right. Okay, Daddy. That's right. You told me that. Okay. So we learned that. Little bit of a scouting report. Jackson Wiggins was the starting pitcher for South Bend that night. He's the number 19 prospect for the Cubs. He looked sharp. His first time through the order, I believe he was perfect. If he wasn't perfect, he gave up a hit. He looked sharp. He got into a little bit more trouble the second time through the order, but that was the least of the problems at that point. My daughter then hit a point, and I knew this was going to happen. My daughter hit a point where it was, okay, Dad, you have made me watch long enough. There's a bouncy house and a fun house over there. We need it. I cannot resist the siren sound, the siren song of the bounce house any longer, Dad. You must take me. All right. Okay. Let's go. I got in 5 innings. That was 3 more innings than I thought I was going to get. So we go and do that for a little bit, but then manage to get her back to her seat. It is really awkward and weird to razz the umpire when your 6-year-old's daughter and your 16-month-old son are sitting next to you. It is really hard. It is really awkward to do. Didn't stop me. By no means did it stop me. The umpires in minor league baseball are in the minors also. We just have to remember that. And unfortunately, that started early because one of the guys that I was hoping to watch and hoping to see a little bit of in the game was Ed Howard. Ed Howard, of course, was one of the Cubs 2020 draft picks. Ed Howard, of course, played for the Little League baseball team that the Little League baseball team that won the Little League World Series back in, I think that was 2012 in Chicago. And it seemed for all the world like Ed was going to go to the White Sox. He grew up a White Sox fan, and then and then they passed on him for whatever reason. They passed on him for whatever reason. Okay. I was curious to see Ed Howard and see how he looked. Well, he came up to bat in the first inning and got ejected. It had to have been for something that he said, because I'm going to break down the play for you. Runner on first, steals second. Howard sees that his man is running, swings to protect him, misses. The throw down to second is late, stolen base. By the time the ball got thrown back to the pitcher, Howard was in the batter's box, but by no means was he ready to swing. By no means was the pitcher ready to pitch, and the home plate umpire ejected him out of the blue. It was one of the fastest tosses I've ever seen. So he had to have said something. And then, long story short, the home plate umpire was questionable throughout the game. One more egregious one later on in the game, a Cubs player, again, stealing first, makes it to second. The field umpire, who's 5 feet from the play, calls him safe. Home plate umpire, who's 180 feet away from the play, overrules the field umpire and calls him out. Oh, there were words being discussed at that point, let me tell you. But it was definitely, oh yeah, I have to be careful. My daughter's right next to me. And my wife even pointed out a couple times, hey, lay off a little bit. Remember that you've got impressionable young minds next to you. But then I knew I was doing okay, because 30 seconds later, he made another mistake and my wife lost her mind at him. So I figured I was doing okay at that point. but yeah, it is a weird thing to do, to give the umpires a piece of your mind first of all, at a minor league game, because unequivocally, absolutely they can hear you. And then second of all, especially when your kid's next to you, because I genuinely don't want my daughter being that way. If I can at all help it, if I can avoid having her be the scream and rant at the refs kind of fan, I'm all for that. But, sometimes your instincts just kind of take over there with you. So it's an interesting dichotomy there. But at the same time, if you've never experienced minor league ball, South Bend is a short drive. And like I said, it's an hour and a half, depending where you are in the city. It's actually of the Cubs minor league system, of the Cubs affiliates, they're the closest. And the White Sox, oh my God. I mean, you've got Tennessee and, way down into the southeast of the U.S. is where you got to go to see any of them. So if you're wanting to see local relevant to, it's a short drive, hop on 90, drive on over, and the stadium is gorgeous, beautiful. And if you've got kids, if you've got a family, I would highly recommend it, highly encourage it. They will take very good care of you over there. And I would, especially in the summer, it's well worth checking out, well worth doing. Even if you wind up having to teach them some lessons that maybe you weren't expecting that night. That is going to do it for our show here tonight. Once again, a shout out and a thank you to our sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet. Follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky, or go to planetjerky.net to place your order. And also to seal the deal, Whack Deals. You can follow them on Instagram at sealthedeal_Whack Deals, or place your order by going to iesportsradio.com/sealthedeal_Whack Deals. Big thank you also to Larry V, the head czar and overlord of all things IE Sports Radio. He was kind enough to jump in, and he was prepared to play producer tonight. He spent literally the whole day doing things for 8 divisions in 8 days. I told him I am more than happy to drive the bus. We had to do a couple of things behind the scenes, but I was more than happy to drive the bus tonight. So thank you, sir, for all the hard work you do. It does not go unnoticed, nor is it unappreciated. Thank you to everybody in the chat room here tonight. Larry B., Ralph Felice, Ricky Keeler, and of course, Karen Rodriguez. Thank you, gentlemen, for being in the chat room. Finally, thank you to you, the listeners, whether this was your first show or your 192nd show. Thank you for being here. I am humbled and touched that you continue to come and listen and participate in the show. Like what you hear? Share it. Podcast Addict, Gio7, Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, anywhere that you listen to the podcast, you can find the content, share it with them, and let them know right here live on Monday nights. Follow IE Sports Radio on YouTube, on Twitter, on Instagram. You can catch the show live right there. We will be diving lots more into the football season as the calendar flips over. Plus, we'll have some other fun along the way. Until then, for IE Sports Radio, I am Adam Karnick. Everybody have a great week. We will see you next time.